Okay, Danganronpa has a lot of villains and antagonists. There's 11 of them, at least 11 that I can remember. I'm going to be ranking all 11 of these characters from worst to best in my personal opinion. If you don't agree, which to be honest I think a lot of you won't, I do apologise, please get involved in the comments down below. Let's have a civil debate about this because that's what I like to do on my channel. So, anyway, let's get started with this. Ranking in our number 11 spot, we have none other than Haiji Toa himself. Okay, you knew he'd be at the bottom of the list, and he is. It's unfortunate because for the first half of the game where he appeared, he was actually kind of interesting and okay, and the vocal performance is great, his design is great, but then he just decided to fucking say that thing in the elevator, and all of a sudden, I just don't like him anymore. I understand that characters have depth, and just because a character is what he is doesn't necessarily mean they're automatically terrible, but in a game that's already got so many disgusting things going on, I don't think it needed that on top of it. He could have very easily been simply an abuser and left it at that. We didn't need to go one extreme higher, because yeah, bad person doesn't equal bad character, but I just can't bring myself to like this character because of that. So I'm sorry, Haiji, but I'm not sorry. You're number 11. Number 10. Now this is where I'll ruffle some feathers. Mukuro Ikusaba, the 16th student. Look, I'm sorry. I just really do not give a shit about this girl. Before you say anything, I have played Danganronpa 1, I have read Danganronpa If, I have watched Danganronpa 3. Every major piece of media that Mukuro is featured in, I have consumed. Not because I wanted to care about her character, but because I thought I'd give it a chance. But honestly, after all that, I really cannot say I care about this character in the absolute slightest. If you like her, then fine, good for you, okay, I'm happy for you, but I really cannot bring myself to care about this character at all. She dies way too early, and she's posing as a sister anyway, so we don't even get to physically see her. And in Danganronpa If, we get a look into her head, but even then, it's just not very interesting or engaging. And by that point, I've just stopped caring about her at all. If there was any care at all, then it's completely gone. Also, writing and depth-wise, there's just not a lot there to begin with, I'm going to be honest with you. It's just very shallow, similar to another character that we're going to see on the list very soon. I'm sorry, I know a lot of you are fans of her, I know a lot of people in the fandom are fans of her, but I really cannot bring myself to give a shit, and I wish I could care, but I don't. There's nothing to her. She's the most nothing burger plot device of a character ever put in a franchise, and I'm sorry, but that is the truth. Or at least I think it is. Number 9, now this is where I get a trillion dislikes, I'm sorry, but straight after her sister, Junko Enoshima at number 9. I'm sorry, okay, if you saw my video in 2023, you knew this was coming. You knew it was coming. I've said it before and I'll say it again, I'll summarize my points. Junko is an incredibly shallow character who I do not give a shit about. We go through this entire mystery story, fucking ranting about despair the entire game, and then the final reveal for the mastermind is not despairing in the slightest because I could not give a shit about the person because we hadn't even met her. What is the point of having a big mastermind reveal if it's a character that we've never seen before? That defeats the entire purpose of a mystery story. It's supposed to be an interesting and shocking reveal, but it just wasn't. I just didn't care. And to make matters worse, Junko then spends the next 2 hours of her appearance in that trial just yapping your fucking ear off, and I really could not give a shit about what she has to say. If you saw my last video, you'll understand that. Yes, I know there is depth that is revealed for her in the likes of Danganronpa 0, but I haven't read Danganronpa 0, and I don't think anyone who played Danganronpa 1 would have done, because Danganronpa 1 is the first thing in the franchise. Why you'd include all the depth of a character in a completely separate media that comes after that one, I have no idea. But yeah, she's just one of the most shallow, boring, and frustrating characters because she could have been interesting, she could have been cool, but they completely botched it. And I'm sorry, but it's what I think. Okay, next we have back-to-back Despair Girls here. It is Tsumugi Shirogane. I think Tsumugi is slightly better than Junko because at the very least she is there for the entire game. But if you saw my Missed Potential of Tsumugi Shirogane video, you will know that I do not like her either. I'm just a little fucker. I don't like any characters in this game. Tsumugi frustrates me because she was alive for the entire fucking 6 chapters, and yet the reveal that she's the mastermind did absolutely nothing to me emotionally. I could not give a shit. Why can I not give a shit? Because she was deliberately written to be as boring and one-note as possible, and I get it. There was a reason for that. It's in the story, it's in the plot. They did that for a reason, but just because something is done for a reason doesn't mean it's fucking good, okay? If you want me to despair, then give me a fucking make the mastermind a character who I actually gave a shit about, so it feels like a true stab to the heart, a betrayal, a despairing truth, not a truth that I just do not give a shit about. Fucking hell. I'm sick of talking about the Despair Sisters. Okay, next up on our list at number 7. Is it 7? Is it fucking... It's 7. Kazuo Tengen, the mastermind of Danganronpa 3. His motivation was better. I'm gonna be honest, I forgot most things about this guy. Like, there's another Danganronpa 3 character on this list, and I remember stuff about him, but about Kazuo, the old guy, I don't remember much about him, but this is probably where he'd go on the list, right? I don't know. I'm sorry. Number 6, we have Izuru Kamukura. So much wasted potential, honestly. I know we're halfway through the list, and I'm still talking about characters I just don't even really like that much. Because I'm sorry, most antagonists in this game aren't that interesting to me. And Izuru is one of them. I'm sorry, but I don't think he's a good character. I know that Izuru is an extension of Hajime, and I've comprehended that. I understand that from the story, and I know it's hard for them to give him more time or more depth, because at the end of the day, he's intertwined with Hajime. But in a sense, he's a separate personality, so I would have liked more depth here, more interesting things, but it just was never done. Conceptually, Izuru is really interesting, and I would have loved a deeper look into the way he thinks and the way he comprehends things, but they didn't show that. They showed us a bit in Danganronpa 3, but in Danganronpa 2, there's next to nothing there, and that's really unfortunate, honestly. Number 5, I have no fucking clue how she's this high, because I don't fucking like her, but writing-wise, she's better than all the characters below, in my opinion. It's Monica Toa. Yeah, the only thing Monica has above the other mastermind girls is the fact that Monica, you know, it makes sense how she is the way she is. She was manipulated, right? She was manipulated and used by Junko. That's literally the only reason she's above the rest of them. In terms of character-wise, she's pretty much the same, and I get she was manipulated and used by adults, so there is actual depth there. There is actual understanding to why she is the way she is. And she was also used, and because she's at a young, impressionable age, it makes most sense. It's realistic, it's understandable, I get it, it makes sense, and even though I don't like her as a character, I can acknowledge that the writing was actually there. They nailed things that they've never nailed before, so thanks. Yeah. Number 5, Monica Toa. Right, we're finally getting into the characters that I like here. Number 4, no one would have expected me to rank him this high. This is another spot that's just going to piss everyone off, and I do apologise. It's Kyosuke Munakata. Guys, he's got Chad Narukami at number 4. Chad Narukami, guys. Guys, am I funny? Mr. Platitudes is honestly one of the most interesting characters in the entire franchise to me. I know a lot of people don't like him, but I feel like that's because a lot of people don't understand him, okay? He presented a counter view of hope against Makoto in a way that was never done before, in an interesting way, because I honestly think that hope and despair in the first 2 games were never explored nearly as deeply as they should be. I get that there's depth to be found, especially within certain characters like the likes of Nagito, but the way Kyosuke's done... Kyosuke? Who the fuck is Kyosuke? The way Kyosuke has done it, and the way that fucking clashes with Makoto is done really well, in my opinion, and it's one of the saving graces of the Danganronpa 3 anime, because I personally don't like it, but if I were to take away anything that I would honestly say is brilliant, it's him. His design, his character, his motivation, his ideology. He's an incredibly logical man, and even though he means well, he doesn't come across very well because he's not thinking emotionally. He's like a mix of Nagito and Byakuya in that sense, but it's done and spun in an interesting way that honestly really resonates with me, and I was really surprised that it was as good as it was, so yeah, he's ranking this high. Okay, now we're getting into the S tier, okay? We've gone from F tier to D tier to B/A tier with Munakata. Now we're in the S tier, okay? Number 3, we have Byakuya Togami. He is a cunt, but we love him, or at least I love him. If you've seen my video about him, you will know that I think a lot of people hate him, and I think it's because they don't understand him. Same kind of thing. Byakuya is a dickhead for most of the game, yes, and even though you may think it's he's a dickhead unjustly because, he's just been brought up this way, but it is revealed in his free time events that he did actually do a lot of things himself. He worked for where he is, and yeah, even though that doesn't take away from the fact that he's a cunt, I do think that's interesting. He's not just some shallow rich guy who's just been given everything on a silver plate. No, he actually worked for it, but obviously his upbringing has a lot to do with why he is the way he is, and I think the Killing Game is a perfect scenario to kind of allow Byakuya to crawl out of that shell, because he's been brought up around people that are all like him for the most part, and he hasn't really been around anyone like, the common people that we see. And even though, yeah, I get it, the Hope's Peak students are like, the top of the top, Byakuya still feels above them for the most part, especially Makoto, which is why he's a great antagonist, because Makoto and Byakuya clash so much, because Byakuya sees Makoto as the lowest of the fucking low, and that is just funny, but, you know, it's done well, so, you know, it's fine. I get that he's a simple character, but we see him slowly crawl out of his shell and understand people on a deeper level and think more emotionally about things, and Chapter 4 is the turning point where he realizes that he can't rely solely on logic and has to actually think with his heart sometimes, which, yeah, even though it's a little bit corny, I think it's done really well, and that we then see slow development further on in Chapters 5 and 6, and then by the time we get to Ultra Despair Girls and Danganronpa 3, he still has like a front of being a cunt, but if you actually like talk to him properly, he is actually just a good guy. His development is slow and it's subtle, but it's what I like in a character, honestly. He doesn't have this drastic change, and even though drastic changes can be great, I do think that a character who evolves just a little bit can make all the difference, and that's why I like Byakuya as much as I do, so he's at number 3. Number 2, this spot is going to piss a lot of people off, not because of who it is, but because of who's above it. It's Nagito Komaeda. You're telling me he put the purple fucking troll at number 1. Why do we subscribe to this guy? Well, folks, why do you subscribe to me? That's a question to answer yourselves. But yeah, number 2 is Nagito. One of the greatest characters in Danganronpa 2, and also the franchise at large, I'd say. One of the deepest and most complex characters we've ever seen, and such an interesting rival. More interesting than Byakuya, in my opinion. As much as I love Byakuya, Nagito is the embodiment of chaos, or at least up until this point he is, and it's done really, really well in my opinion. Chapter 5 is obviously his absolute peak. It's incredible. Trial 5 is, you know, it's many people say it's one of the best trials, if not the best trial in the entire franchise, and I absolutely agree that it is up there. It's not my favourite trial, but it is definitely in the top 3, if nothing else. And you know why it's in the top 3? Because Nagito's in it. It wouldn't have been as good as it was if Nagito wasn't involved, because he's the reason why it was the way it was, and that's exactly why he's such a good character. And even though on the surface level a lot of Nagito's things seem contradictory, they're not. It's just because you look at a character on a surface level and fail to see that they're putting up a front, so things seem like contradictions, but they're not. The character just wants to be perceived a certain way, but you actually learn that beneath the surface there is something much deeper going on, and that's why he's such a great character. He definitely doesn't love talent in the students as much as that would seem. That is the front there, because his talent is luck, but his luck is a mix of really good luck and really bad luck, so he doesn't really feel like he deserves to be a part of this group. He envies the true talented, and even though he thinks people are born with talent or without, he sees himself as born without talent, because even though, yeah, he's technically the ultimate lucky student, that doesn't really mean anything, because his luck isn't something he can control, and a lot of the time, it's bad luck. Yeah, I've done a whole separate video on Nagito where I go deeper into his character, so if you want to check that out, I might have it linked below. It'll be in one of the playlists anyway. But yeah, Nagito, one of the greatest characters in the franchise. He's here at number 2. Coming in at our number 1 spot, we have... Don't say it. Don't fucking say it. We don't want to hear it. Just end the video there and pretend he's not included. Just fucking end it. It's Kokichi Ōma. It's Kokichi Ōma. It is Kokichi Ōma. I'm very sorry. I know a lot of people don't like him, but a lot of people just don't understand him, okay? He is one of the most complex and rich characters in this franchise, and even though, yeah, on the surface level, he's just a lying little purple piece of shit, on a deeper level, he's a more complex lying purple piece of shit. For the first half of the game, you can't really pick up on much about his character, but it's chapter 4 and 5, especially 5, are where you really start to understand his character, and a lot of people just write him off as poorly written because, oh, well, we can't really understand his motivations because we can't understand what's lies and what's not. You can, actually. You know, it just requires a bit more brain power. Sorry, that makes me sound like a cunt. That makes me sound pretentious as fuck. I'm sorry. But no, I understand he's a hard character to comprehend. I would honestly say he's one of the most complex characters in the entire franchise, if not the most complex, because making sense and understanding why he is the way he is really difficult, and I get that. It's difficult for me because, you know, I've had times where I've had to research stuff about him because it's like, hang on, is this right, or am I just getting this completely wrong? And a lot of things, you have to make assumptions, but it's very easy to understand which assumptions are the right ones. You just have to make certain inferences about the actions he makes, and you can come to the correct conclusion. Obviously, Kodaka himself isn't here to confirm what is and isn't right. You just kind of have to presume. But then again, if you actually do think about his character on a wider scale, it is very clear what is the truth and what isn't. He clashes perfectly with Shuichi. His relationship with Maki is very interesting. His relationship with Kaito is very interesting. There's so many clashes there, and so many things that you can look at and dig deeper into. And I'm not going to do them now because otherwise this video would be half an hour long. But I will be making a separate video on Kokichi at some point, just like I did for Nagito. And to be honest, the Kokichi video will probably be longer because you have to explain more about Kokichi. Not because he's significantly deeper than Nagito, but because he's just kind of a complex little bastard, and to be able to make sense of him, you do have to yap on a little bit. But yeah, he's at the #1 spot. I'm sorry if you didn't enjoy my list. This is just my personal opinion. If you want to see more videos from me, go ahead and subscribe, leave a like, all that jazz. And anyway, I will see you all in the next one. Peace out. I just need to know.